With the Giants trading away Odell Beckham, the Dallas Cowboys' 2 contract negotiations going off, Washington's quarterback situation, and the Philadelphia Eagles' unknown offseason. This is the NFC East. NFC East, today's episode, I'm Andres. This is my football assessment. And we're going to start right away with the New York Giants. Number one topic, the laughingstock of the NFL, but should they be mocked? Number one thing is that the draft pretty much gave them away. Everyone questioned Daniel Jones being picked number 6, Dexter Lawrence getting picked number in the mid-round, and then trading back into the first round, ridiculous offer to get DeAndre Baker. But it wasn't only that. It was a little bit beforehand when they traded away Odell Beckham Jr. Just why? Out of all people on the team, Odell Beckham. What they got back was good, but was it worth it? I don't know. In response to the trade, they have Kevin Zeitler, Jabril Peppers, and they used the first-round pick that they got from the Browns to get Dexter Lawrence. Additions to the team, when I was looking this up, I didn't think that it was a whole lot, but now that I'm looking at it, it looks pretty decent. Corey Coleman, another wide receiver, Antoine Bethea. He's a little bit old for his safety position. Kevin Zeitler, Jabril Peppers, we already talked about. Tony Lippett, decent defensive back. Golden Tate, way overpaid. Cody Latimer, another wide receiver. And then Mike Remmers, another guard for the offensive line. They also drafted Corey Ballantyne, who unfortunately was shot at draft night. I hope he's okay. I haven't looked up or seen anything about him. The Giants do have one thing going for them, and that's the run game. Saquon Barkley was the best pick they could have gotten last year out of all the other picks. Why do I say that when there was a bunch of other quarterbacks with promise? I honestly believe in Daniel Jones when a lot of people don't. Daniel Jones has a lot of promise in the NFL, even though he broke his collarbone last season in his senior year in college. He has a lot of promise, and I see why. But back to Saquon Barkley, the reason why that's going for the Giants is because he has over 1,300 rushing yards last season and over 700 receiving yards. And he had a lot of highlights, a lot of good plays that we saw from him that made us think that he's at a superstar level. But the number one issue is their quarterback. Now, let's go to Eli Manning straight away. He started all 16 games. He went 380 out of 576 for a 66% completion rating, flat, 4,299 yards passing, and 21 touchdowns to 11 interceptions. Not the greatest year at all. Every season after his rookie season, he had double-digit interceptions. That's one thing that I saw, which I was very amazed by. Eli Manning, getting a pick from Eli Manning isn't as special as getting a pick from, let's say, Aaron Rodgers, who had only 2 interceptions last season. But Eli Manning, I don't know why, but for some reason, he's had double-digit interceptions ever since he's been in the league after his rookie year. On to Daniel Jones, I looked at his stats, and I know this is completely unfair to compare college and professional football players in general, but I'm going to do it, okay? Just to get people's mindsets to, if this player did good in college doesn't primarily mean he's going to do great in the NFL, or if this kid did terribly bad in college doesn't mean he's going to do terribly bad in the NFL either. That is the case for Daniel Jones. And I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt for 2 things, and 2 things only, okay? He had a broken collarbone, and he played under a broken collarbone. And his wide receivers did him no favors. He had no players on his team, okay? It was only Daniel Jones. That was it. Duke football is not very well known. Duke basketball is. Duke football isn't. Daniel Jones played 11 games due to his collarbone. 237 out of 392 attempts for a 60.5% completion rating. 2,674 yards passing, and 22 touchdowns for 9 interceptions. His best year rating-wise was his junior year. I believe it was above 120 or 130. He played last year on a fractured collarbone. Receivers weren't helping him either. Why do I bring this up for Daniel Jones? Look, a lot of people are bashing Daniel Jones and bashing the fact that the Giants picked Daniel Jones, maybe because correlations to the Manning camp. Look, I honestly think that Daniel Jones has a spark, okay? Not a lot of people are going to believe in him, and that's what's going to fuel him. That's what's going to fuel him mentally and physically. He's going to want to be better. And it's not because he's already bad. It's because he's been playing under injury. He's been having a chip on his shoulder ever since this last season. And now, on top of the fact he was picked 6th overall and people are doubting him, he has an even bigger chip on his shoulder now. So I wouldn't be surprised week 5 he starts and he throws 300 yards, 20 for 25, 3 touchdowns. I expect greatness out of Daniel Jones. Not maybe this year, but the following year. As I said with Josh Rosen, and as I said with other quarterbacks. And I'm going to keep saying this for quarterbacks that were drafted this year other than Kyler Murray. The exception being Kyler Murray. All of the quarterbacks that were drafted this year should sit on the bench until week 4, week 5. I feel like until then, they've seen true football. They've seen true development in a team that they are able and willing to stand up and to be able to sling it, okay? Daniel Jones should be no different. He should be healed by, next week, the last week of the preseason. And he should be ready to go by week 5. 100% I feel like Eli Manning, if this is his last year, Daniel Jones is going to be the successor. And Daniel Jones will be ultimately better than Eli Manning in every way. I hope. That's what I hope. Now on to the other quarterback that got drafted in the NFC East in the first round and was passed on by the Giants, actually. The Redskins with Dwayne Haskins. Major concerns for the Redskins were Alex Smith was out for the year along with Reuben Foster with torn LCL and ACL. Are they rebuilding? Are they contending? We don't know anymore, okay? And after week 8, week 9, when Alex Smith was doing good and the Redskins were having a winning record, we thought, oh, they're contending. They look pretty good. And then Alex Smith got destroyed, and then we were like, oh, okay, they're rebuilding. That's it. That's it for Alex Smith and his dreams. What the Redskins did in the offseason was pretty interesting. I'm not too fond of their offseason, more fond of their draft. Their offseason, they gave Landon Collins a huge contract, which was uncalled for. They signed Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie, Eric Flowers, and Brian Quick, all pretty much depth at this point. But the draft was pretty brilliant. Everything fell to them, and everything was perfect for the Redskins. They drafted Dwayne Haskins. They drafted Montez Sweat. They drafted Wes Martin. All 3 of those players are going to be key contributors to that team. The team looks solid, but still has a little bit of time before they are real contenders or even playoff potential. Period. Okay? They lost Alex Smith. Their receiver core isn't that good. Their halfback core isn't that good. Their defense is... Their offensive line is kind of withering. Nobody really knows anyone on the Redskins. Like, if you asked anyone at all, who is on the Redskins, I bet you all my money they can't even name, 5 players. No one knows who's on the Redskins and who's playing for the Redskins. And no one cares. Because no one really watches the Redskins. However, it does seem like the Redskins are in line for a decent rebuild. I honestly think that Dwayne Haskins is a good pickup for them. Montez Sweat is a good pickup for them. After a couple of players on their team, retire or get released or probably go to another team in free agency, I feel like their team is relatively young. They can develop over the years, and they can become a pretty good playoff team, honestly. But at this point, I don't see any future in the Redskins. I could be wrong, and I hope to be wrong. But honestly, the Redskins do not look like they are real contenders at the moment. They traded for Case Keenum. Why? Just why? And by the way, he's going to be starting in the regular season. And to add on to that, he has a $10 million contract per year. He has a $10 million per year contract. Yeah, for Case freaking Keenum. The Redskins aren't poised for anything at all. Defense and offense still need improvements. Draft was phenomenal. Draft picks fell to them. Very smart draft. That's pretty much the only thing positive coming out of the Redskins. I don't see anything story-wise. I don't see anything development-wise. So this is why I'm not a real believer in the Redskins. And I don't feel like they'll be a good team this year, next year, or the couple of years to come. But this Dallas team might. The Dallas Cowboys, my lord, do they have issues. The beginning of the season, or the beginning of the offseason, they already had issues with Randy Gregory and David Irving policy issues on the NFL. David Irving, I believe, was reprimanded for weed violation, and he retired from the NFL for that. And Randy Gregory was also reprimanded for whatever I think it was PED violations. But other than that, on the other side of things, getting paid. Dak Prescott asking for $10 million per year. Ezekiel Elliott asking for a big contract. I mean, Dak Prescott, okay? I don't know if he's the way to go. I've been thinking about this for a little while. Dak Prescott is definitely their starting quarterback. Cooper Rush could be a decent backup or even a starter. I don't know. But the fact of the matter is Dak Prescott is their starter. Is he a great starter? I don't know. But here's one thing, okay? I looked at his stats. Dak Prescott, 2018 to 2019, played all 16 games, 356 for 526, 67.7% completion rating. Barely missed the 4,000-yard mark, 3,885 passing yards, 22 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Now, that's a stat line that I'm keenly fond of. I love to see the touchdown-interception ratio because it brings a lot out of a quarterback. If he has a high number of touchdowns and a low number of interceptions, he's definitely superstar talent if it shows. Dak Prescott, 22 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. It's there. I'm going to say that. It's there. Okay? The reason why I say that is because Dak Prescott really doesn't have any other targets to throw to. And it's not his fault, okay? He had Michael Gallup, out of all people, to be his, number one receiver. And then, not at week 7, the Raiders made a trade with the Cowboys, first-round pick for Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper shows up on the team. His stats increase a lot. And I saw the progression from week 1 to week 6 or week 7. I saw that he had low passing number games. And then week 8 through on, he was just slinging it. Him and Amari Cooper are going to prove to be a great tandem. Or actually, a new triple tandem in Dallas. Forget Tony Romo, DeMarco Murray, and Des Bryant, okay? It's Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott, and Amari Cooper. Now, that's a triple tandem I can believe in right now. Offseason wasn't all too flashy either. And then I saw that Randall Cobb got cut. I don't know why the Packers would do that, but they did. The wide receivers are Amari Cooper, Randall Cobb, Tavon Austin. Those are really, really good. Made important acquisitions in re-signing Sean Lee and trading for Robert Quinn. And unfortunately, Robert Quinn, the defensive end from Miami, got injured. And that's a really bad thing for the Cowboys, considering the fact that they lost 2 defensive linemen this year. One was thinking about leaving the team until they got a new deal, DeMarcus Lawrence, and now their defensive line is really just backups and hopeful starters. As far as I can say for Dallas is that they look to be a playoff team 100%, and I feel like they shouldn't have much problems going into the postseason. But maybe, just maybe, this one team can show their true potential this season. Dallas is going to have a really hard time facing this one team, all right? Philadelphia, okay? City of brotherly love. Everyone loves to say that. City of the process in the NBA, and the city of brotherly love, and Carson Wentz being injured in the NFL. But make no mistake about it, they're the most overlooked and not talked about off-seasons in the NFL for a team. I mean, this is outstanding. I've seen so many remarkable signings by this team that it's ridiculous how people are not considering this team to be a playoff or a strong Super Bowl team. I get that you're talking about Carson Wentz being a potential MVP candidate, but you're not looking at the fact that the Eagles as a whole look so much better this season than they did last season. On paper. And I emphasize that, on paper. They re-signed 4 really key important players: Brandon Graham, Jason Kelsey, Jason Peters, and Ronald Darby. Now, given the fact that Jason Peters is going to possibly retire in the next 2-3 years, they made plans. They made sure that they have a successor. I will get to that in a bit. Trades. They made 2 significant good trades and 1 bad one, all right? The 2 significant good trades are Deshaun Jackson, great. Jordan Howard, amazing. And then they traded away Michael Bennett. Now, that's the one that I was very, very confused about. They traded away Michael Bennett to the Patriots. Out of all teams in the NFL, they traded him to the Patriots. I don't know why. They got, I believe, a 3rd or a 4th or 5th round pick out of it. But that was probably one of the weirdest trades I've seen this offseason. But moving on from that, they signed 4 significant players. Zach Brown, who was released by the Redskins, I believe. Malik Jackson on a significantly lower contract than he was on the Jaguars. They signed Andrew Sendejo, who was cut by the Vikings. And they signed Vinny Curry, a former Buccaneer, I believe. And then not only that, in the draft, they get Andre Dillard, a successor to Jason Peters, as I mentioned, Miles Sanders, another running back, and J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, another receiver. It's an absolutely phenomenal offseason and draft filled in empty roster spots and a few successors at certain positions. I honestly feel this Philly team has looked its best in a few years. Their team is still relatively young, their team is still relatively strong, and their team is still relatively playoff strong. They went to the playoffs for 2 straight years, okay? This could be their 3rd straight year. I'm not cursing them, I'm just saying this could be potentially their 3rd year in the postseason. Look, I can already tell people are going to be very mad at the fact that there's already talks of Carson Wentz being in the MVP candidacy. Why aren't they saying Eagles are early Super Bowl 54 favorites? Honestly, I haven't seen that a whole lot. I've been seeing, we see another, team getting back to the Super Bowl, the Patriots. And then we see a whole lot of mumbo jumbo from the NFC. Like, they say the Saints, they say the Rams. Where's the Eagles? I haven't seen much of that. Either I haven't seen it or I've been ignorant. Either way, take it up. Carson Wentz already an MVP favorite. I know everyone's going to say that. Yeah. Yada, yada, yada. I will believe it if I see it. That season when they went to the Super Bowl, I immediately knew the Eagles were going to go to the Super Bowl. That Week 2 kick by Jake Elliott was just too magical to even not think about the Eagles going to the Super Bowl. I'm not saying the Carson Wentz MVP favorite is true and stuff. I'm just saying what I know and saying what I've looked up. Personally, I think the Eagles are going to be back to the playoffs again. Wentz needs to be healthy. He needs to stay healthy. Carson Wentz has shown he's a good quarterback. He's a great quarterback. He can evade everything in the pocket. He's a great two-way quarterback, in my opinion. Underrated two-way quarterback, if I'm going to be honest here. His last 2 years, he has had really good ratings in quarterback ratings. His completion percentage was still above 60. He had over 3,000 yards. In 2017, he had 33 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. And this year, he had 21 touchdowns, 7 interceptions before getting injured. Around the same time, actually, as the year previous. And then Nick Foles stepped up. Carson Wentz, he's a great, gifted quarterback. I truly believe that. He's in a great system. He's on a great team. Under a really good coach in Doug Peterson, honestly. I fully believe that. Carson Wentz can be an MVP. Can he stay healthy is the question. That's the main issue for the Eagles right now. If Carson Wentz cannot stay healthy, there's going to be a lot of just pure terror and horror and nightmares for the Philadelphia Eagles. Not saying I don't believe in their backups. Nate Sudfeld, I don't know if he's good or not, but I mean, if he needs to, he's going to have to step up. But I fully believe in Carson Wentz. I fully believe in the Eagles. If they can all stay healthy and if they all believe in the system, they can make it to the Super Bowl again. I 100% guarantee it. Who they're facing, I have no clue, but that's what I'm going with. I think the Eagles are the clear-cut winners in this division in the NFC East. I fully believe New York and Washington will be in rebuild stages this year and next year. Dallas and Philadelphia are going to be contending for that spot in the NFC East. Honestly, if the Cowboys keep up their offensive game, they're going to be really good. If they upgrade their defense a bit more before the season starts, I think they'll be even better. Philadelphia, they have all the players they need. They just need to believe in the system. If Carson Wentz goes down, I can't guarantee the Eagles will make the playoffs or keep Carson Wentz. Because honestly, he's very injury-prone from the last 2 years. And personally, I don't want to see this become another Ryan Tannehill situation, okay? I don't want him to be that one-year wonder quarterback and then just turn out to be bad, okay? I want Carson Wentz to come back and be really, really good. That's all I have for the NFC East. I'm going to record NFC South right away and get that up along with this episode. I know I promised to put this episode up beforehand. I just have been busy with a lot of schoolwork and a lot of work I had in between weeks. But I will get to quarterback analysis, and I will get into regular season predictions, and I'll get that all in before that Thursday night football game. And I will guarantee you every week, whether it's Tuesday or Wednesday, I'll upload 2 episodes, one for the AFC and one for the NFC on each week's games. Most important and most key games. I'm not going to cover all games because that's a little too much on me for my liking, because I have a lot of schoolwork, I have a lot of stuff to do on the side, and I can only do so much. So what I'm going to focus on doing is key games and all that. And I'll also have my some of my friends pop up, give opinions, give a little bit of facts in there, maybe have their view of the games, and a little bit more than that. So I hope you like this episode. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that. I'm now on Spotify. I'm now on a couple other podcast apps. I've yet to get approved for the Apple app podcasts, but I am 100% on Spotify. So if you want, follow me there. Listen to me on your car drive to your work, home, hobby, whatever it is. I'm Andres. This is my football assessment. Have a great day.